Hello and welcome back. We've got a lot to discuss that's happened over the past few weeks. I want to thank you for joining me for 5 minutes of relevance. I'll try to make it 5 minutes, but we have a lot to discuss. The biggest topic that has come up over the past couple of weeks has been the budget issues and the continuing resolution. The House put together a measure that was revised 3 different times in 5 days that came up for a Friday vote. And this was so that we would have about 2 weeks to adjust before the new year so that people would still get their Social Security and that the government would not shut down. We worked very diligently with the Senate to hammer out a deal that both sides would be able to accept. And I cannot remember the last time anything was unanimously passed by the Senate any time that Obama has been in office, but this measure did. There was another provision of it that passed 89 to 10. We've seemed to hit quite an impasse when it comes to this legislation because Obama up and decided at the last minute that this needed to be a year-long extension instead of a 2-month tax deal. The problem was, after he had agreed to make the pipeline provision a permit that he would sign, he went back on his word and he reneged and said that he would not be able to support the provision on the pipeline in order to get the 2-month tax cut extension. John Boehner basically made the provision so that he would have to answer to the American people on the next State of the Union address. The House has several options at this time in order to try and keep the government open and to get everybody on the record about the provisions that are in the bill. When we originally started working on the bill, I told them that it was entirely too large and there were certain things that definitely did not need to be in there. And I used some serious choice words when it came to my opinions about it. The bill needs to be broken up into smaller parts so that we can get an up or down vote on each portion: the pipeline, payroll tax extension, railroad unemployment, Medicare and TANF, flood insurance, the 911 broadband expansion, tax reform, the federal employees, their provisions, the impeachment order, and the new House bill for the year-long extension, if it is possible to construct that bill before the end of this year and get it voted on. Those will be the 8 things that the House has to do between today and January 1st. Okay. The second thing I want to talk about is Ron Paul should have his own dictionary of libertarian words. Every time this man gets up and says something, either at the debates or I hear someone who has listened to his speeches talk on Facebook, they have these set of words that they always like to use. And I just want to take a few words and let you know that these are the things that Ron Paul says repeatedly: endless wars, civil liberties, freedom, fear-mongering, warmongers, the far-right establishment, fascism, unconstitutional, and unending wars. I have heard these phrases so much over the past 6 months that they have become stale. I just want to say at this time, and I want to clear this up for anyone who has any doubts whatsoever, Ron Paul is not Tea Party. He is libertarian. There is a difference. Look it up if you don't know the difference. But what I will say is that there is a faction of libertarians who support violence as a means of reform. And that Ron Paul has been supporting the Occupy Wall Street insurrection. I just want to throw that out there. Okay, the third thing is that Michele Bachmann lost a key evangelical vote support from a particular leader. I can't pronounce this name really well, so I'm not going to try. But anyway, he actually went to Michele Bachmann and he said to her that he would like her to support Rick Perry or Rick Santorum, which I think is just absolutely huge. The only reason that I would not support Michele Bachmann, and this goes back to last summer, is that she has had a repeal bill for an entire year that she has not brought to the floor since August of 2010. She has been politicizing the issue of repeal for her campaign. And for this reason, I do not think Michele Bachmann is a woman of her word. I will not go as far as to say that she's a lying-ass bitch like they did on Jimmy Fallon, but I will say that she broke her word with me personally. So, therefore, I cannot support her as the nominee. I will tell you that in likeness of the evangelical supporter who came to Michele Bachmann and pleaded for her to support Rick Perry or Rick Santorum, that the Georgia Tea Party is supporting Rick Perry or Rick Santorum for nomination. And I'm really happy about it because a lot of our rural Tea Parties are really into this, and I'm very excited to see where this race goes. Not just what becomes of the Iowa caucus, but what comes, say, come March. Georgia's primary will be at the beginning of March, and I really want to see everyone fully engaged, not just in these talking points or in a position of, well, this person is my favorite. I've seen all the political winds blow. Everyone was supporting Michele Bachmann to begin with. Then they all hopped on the Kane train. Then when the Herman Cain train derailed, they were on to Newt Gingrich. And now that Newt Gingrich has been called out on all his sexual affairs of the past and his money issues with him dipping in the lobbyist honey holes, they've all gone to Ron Paul in the polls. I have seen this trend ever since the beginning, but I supported Rick Santorum from the very start of this race. Michele Bachmann entered the race. I was happy to see her run, but she did not change my loyalty. And then I started to like Rick Perry. And those are the only two that I can say out of the past 6 months that I have researched and I find really to be what needs to repair our nation after the damage that Obama has done. And to get into that, the impeachment order was drafted to impeach Obama. And I'm just going to read it to you. It's 23 pages long, so I'm just going to start with the highlights and exactly like the language that's in it. Here it is, impeachment order. Issued for January 1st, 2012 for Barack Obama. The Tea Party decrees by the power of the Constitution that Barack Obama is hereby subject to the order of impeachment effective January 1st, 2012, subsequent to the House petition for impeachment filed on May 27th, 2011, in accordance with the investigative conclusions on the following articles of impeachment filed as offenses and abuses of power, that Obama has been found guilty to have violated the oath of office in an evil and egregious manner and of gross misappropriation, so that he is therefore no longer recognized or respected as the President of the United States by the good people he was sworn to serve. We ask that he willingly leave the office on January 1st, 2012, as we are no longer required to respect him, for he broke the oath of office. Nor are we required to uphold any laws that he has signed against our will. And this is going to go into the 9 articles of impeachment that were filed by the House, just so that you know what they are. The first article is that he failed to repeal H.R. 4872, which was Obamacare. The second article of impeachment is that he fails on his economic and foreign policy. The third article of impeachment is that he fails to hold Fannie and Freddie accountable. The fourth article of impeachment is that he fails to restrict taxpayer funds used to conduct abortions for corrupt government contracts with Stericycle. The fifth article of impeachment is that he abuses power by coercion, misrepresenting figures, and threatening consequences for those speaking out about the truth of his abuse of power and misuse of taxpayer funds. The impeachment article number 6 is that he breaks the oath of office, perjures himself in lying about his citizenship, and committing felonies for every campaign donation accepted over a certain dollar amount that is applicable by law, in corruption and in collaboration with the DNC. Impeachment article number 7 is that he fails to reinstate or have the reinstitution of the family as the governing unit of society. Impeachment article number 8 is that he fails to restrict wasteful spending and continues to persist in raising the debt ceiling against the will of the American people. Impeachment article number 9 calls for the removal of 51 Senate Democrats who have opposed the will of the American people by failing to fully repeal H.R. 4872 in favor of exacting the will of Obama, instead of representing and honoring the will of the American people. If you want to see the original complaint, it'll be posted online, but here's kind of like what it looks like when you get further down.